Hey guys, this is Tobias. It's been a while since I've made one of these for you. I apologize for that. Things have been pretty busy in real life, so I really haven't had time to sit down and do one of these things. But it is the holidays, and so happy holidays to you. And I happen to have some time off right now, so I thought I'd try to do something nice for you guys. So I started watching this movie on Netflix called Dampyr, and in the opening scene, there was this effect here that you're seeing in blue, this sort of protective energy field that I thought would be a pretty good topic to cover as a quick tutorial in Houdini, um, just to get you guys something to play around with. A couple of caveats. We're only going to focus on a couple of elements of this shot. We're not doing the whole, ready for Netflix production shot. Um, that's unrealistic for, hopefully a short video. We're going to focus on these sort of energy look that you have here, this very basic hill that you have. There is a house in here. If you've seen the movie, we're not going to build any of that. Um, and also, in this particular video, I'm not going to cover the rendering aspect. I'm just going to show you how to build the effect, and then hopefully you can run with that and sort of use your own creative choices after that to do what you want to do. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. So if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I like to sort of start in a sandbox just to get all the ideas out onto the canvas, so to speak, and then extract from that sandbox, if you will, the different elements that we need to render. Um, so let's just go ahead and just start doing that by setting up a setup container here. It's just a geo container and just sort of dropping down the ideas that we need to accomplish in this. So first thing is this terrain, which is this raised hill. If you've seen it, if you've seen the movie, so he's standing like across a chasm. On the other side, there's a chasm here, and then it comes back up into this hill, and then where this house is. And so we're going to create that little hilltop there. Um, we're not going to go ahead and dive into the terrain creation tools because it's a little bit overkill for this kind of shot. Um, but let's go ahead and drop down a grid, and we'll increase the resolution of this. We have something to work with here. And then let's use a simple noise, attribute noise on position up here. It's by default it's a little crazy, so we're going to change this to 0 centered and drop this down to like 0.2. And you can see we have a pretty quick and dirty sort of terrain feel. This is a little too busy for what we're seeing in the shot. As you can see, this undulation is a little less than what we have going on. So let's tame that down a bit. Scroll down here. We can do that by increasing this element size, and you can see now we have a much more tame version of that. So the next thing we need to do is sort of raise a hill out of this that we want to see in the shot. Quick way we can do that that's sort of art directable is to create a paint, an attribute paint node, and we can sort of paint the area that we want to raise. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to change my top view, hit enter on this node here, and we're going to use the scroll wheel on our mouse to increase our brush size. And you don't have to be too precious about this. You can just sort of draw an area you think that is appropriate for the raised area that you want to use, and go from there. All right, just a very rough sort of shape there. Let's go back to our perspective view here, and now we have this attribute called mask, which is this red area that's blending out, and we can use that attribute to adjust something else. So in this case, we want to use and adjust float, and we want to adjust our position, but we're going to do position Y, so just p dot y. And what we're going to do here is adjust this constant value to raise the terrain, but we need to take advantage of this mask that we have. So we need to enable this blend that we have and change it from constant to user attribute or use attribute, and it's already populated with mask. So now when we go down here and use this slider here, we can raise the terrain a bit to something like that, and then sort of roughly sort of set up our frame there. Something like that. If we look at our reference shot, you see we're relatively close there. So, a little bit down there like that. This is a little rough on the edges there. So we can smooth that out using a smooth node and drop the filter down to 1. So in essence, it's a lower quality filter um, to get softer features, but we have the undulation that we're looking for. And that's actually not terrible. So we'll go with that. And now we have basically our terrain shape that we can, later, add some UVs and a texture in the rendering stage, which again, like I said before, I'm going to leave that to you. I'll put hill. Okay, now we need to create an area on this hill that is going to emit our energy source. And it's just an outline. So we need sort of a circular outline that follows this terrain. The way that we can do that is by first using a circle. And you can see it comes in the wrong orientation for what we want. So we're going to use this orientation ZX plane and raise it so we can see it and sort of roughly position it where we need it. Increase that size a bit, something like that. We can go into the top view just to get a better sense of what we're looking at. So we kind of want something like that, right? We want to increase the resolution of this circle before we project it onto this terrain. And the way that we project it is we use a node called the ray node. And the first input is the thing that we're projecting. And the second input is the thing that we're projecting onto. So you can see that it took that circle and stuck it on our terrain like a sticker, and it's following that undulation of the hilltop itself. But we don't want the circle as a polygon. We just want the edge, the outside edge of it. So the way we can do that is grab a curve from edges node, which we conveniently have in Houdini, and it's a one-stop shop kind of action there, which is fantastic. Just go ahead and template that so we can see what's going on. And now we have this curve that's following our terrain, which is great. Now this has points on it. If you can see those, there's little blue dots there all around that curve, which we are going to take advantage of using those points, the normals that are on those points, to create a velocity that we can use on a particle network. So what we'll do is we'll generate particles that push up from that circle towards the sky and sort of like pull in a sort of dome shape. And looking at this, we'll probably create like a trail of particles and sort of connect them into these little lines here and make these kind of weird little moments that sort of bunch up there. All this is pretty easy to do in Houdini. There's about 10 different techniques that any person could find to do these kinds of things, and I try to hesitate or stay away from saying one way is right or wrong or one way is better than another. It's just you have to take it on a case-by-case basis and do what you feel comfortable with and what gets you the result that you're looking for. So without further ado, let's go ahead and create a velocity on that curve. Now we're going to have to use a little bit of Vex to do that, but I promise it's not going to be terribly difficult. So with the knowledge of knowing that there are normals on these points just by rote, we can use that information to create a vector. So we use @v, that's creating the vector. The normals are normally going to be pointing downwards on a circle like this. So I'll show you that real quick by dropping down a pop network, and if we look, we can see a second. We need the v. So I had v, if we just do equals at n, just to sort of copy the data from the normal, you'll see that we have particles that are falling downwards, which is not what we want. We want to go upwards. So we want to reverse that velocity. So just put a minus in front of the equals. So minus equals, and then now they're going up. So that basically inverts it. And okay, great, we're almost there. What we can do now is work on creating this dome, sort of invisible dome that they're sort of being pulled into, the shape anyway. And we can do that in our pop network by dropping in here. And well, first let's make some adjustments to the particles that are coming in. So we don't necessarily want to scatter them. We want to use the existing points. So we get something that's a bit more uniform and have a little more control over, we can make this, messy and noisy and stuff ourselves, but rather than have it be sort of randomly generated by the particle scattering, we can use points to give ourselves a little bit more control. And also the birth rate, we don't need 5,000. Let's drop this down to like 50. Just sort of on it. See, that's much more what we want. I'm toggling the real-time toggle here. And we have an incoming velocity that's driving these particles. But if you've seen the shot in the movie, you know that it is not anywhere near that fast. It is very, very slow. So we're going to take on the attributes tab the inherited velocity that's coming in, and we're going to go way, way down to maybe 1/10 the speed of that. Maybe that's even too slow. We can go like 0.2. So we have something that's a little faster. Yeah, that feels a lot better. That's more like flowing energy. Now what we need to do is pull that in towards the center of this circle to form sort of a dome shape as they go up. And we can easily do that with a pop attract. So we drop this pop attract in here right after the source. And for the goal, we're going to use position. And you can see we've already got this little transform handle here. And I'm going to go ahead and put that above what our circle is. So you can see it's above that. And the force, instead of accelerate, we're going to use follow. So it's going to sort of it's just gradually going to pull in, sort of follow that in a non-linear fashion into the it sort of interpolates into that position, right? So if we just go out of the box with it, we don't really see much. So we have to lower this distance to something much, much lower. So we can start seeing the effect, and we should start seeing them pull inwards, maybe even less. We probably need to increase the force there. And it's entirely possible I have this goal placed, goal orientation too high as well. So we're not getting the effect that I thought we would be getting. So follow, minimum distance, maximum distance. Okay. This is what I forgot here. So I'm going to stop this. So you need to use ambient speed. If you look at the help, if the goal speed is less than this value, the speed will be used instead of the goal speed. So we need to give them a little bit of a push, so to speak, towards where we want them to go. That's something I wouldn't expect anybody to just sort of know off the top of their head. I think I've just run into that before in the past and sort of been bit by that information. So with that knowledge, I'm going to raise my point to pull them higher, and maybe even adjust the force now to something much lower, so they're not crossing by the time we're done. This is the kind of thing that just takes a lot of trial and error. Um, I like this look, but the particles are lasting too long. So let's go back to the birth life expectancy. This is in seconds. So we're on a 240 frame timeline, and US cinema standards, that's 24 frames a second, which is about 10 seconds. So I'm going to go with 10 seconds on this, and then with a little bit of variance, maybe 2 seconds. And that way, by the time they're getting to the top, they're starting to fade out or pop out. Hopefully, we might need to adjust that. Yeah, let's adjust that down to something like maybe 6 seconds. We should be getting them starting to turn off once it cycles again. Hold on, do that again. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so they're starting to disappear as they approach the top. Maybe we don't want so much variation. Um, yeah, okay, good, good, good. So they're starting to disappear before they start intersecting and crossing out at the top. We might even want to go less than that, but I don't want to keep you guys too long on this. So I'm going to leave it at 5 and 1, and we're going to move on from there. And then you guys can adjust the taste later on. Okay, so now we have these particles that are coming from the terrain, basically, is, well, coming from the circle that we projected, but they're following the shape of that hill that we made. And of course, we don't want particles, we want lines. So we need to create a trail from those particles. And we can use a trail node for that. We'll mess with the length and the increment to get the look that we want. So we obviously want something much, much longer than that. The lower the increment, the closer the dots are together, which in this case, we want them relatively close because we're going to use them to make lines out of this. So I might even want to go just a little bit longer than that. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going by this this reference shot. I'm sort of looking at the longest pieces, imagining if they were straightened out, before there's all this sort of noise in their shape. But what are some of the longest pieces? Like this one right here that you can see. That's probably somewhere along what we got going on. Maybe we can go even longer than that, maybe 20. And that's probably more like it. Okay, so we're sort of getting there, but now we need to take this trail shape, which is basically all these, they're all just points, right? And we need to make those lines. So let's go ahead and do that so that we can start having some real fun here. Okay, so we have a node in Houdini called, sorry, my tab wasn't working there for a second, connect adjacent pieces. And one of the options in this node is to connect adjacent points. It's the last option here. So if we turn this on, you'll see what happens when the particles start coming in. We start getting those kind of shapes, which is not quite what we want. It's a little excessive. But what it's doing is it's creating polygons, polylines, specifically between nearby points according to these search radius and the search points, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to lower this quite a bit. So say something like maybe 7 points, and maybe the radius is about half of that. And let's just clean this up a little bit, start over, see what we're getting. Now this is the part where it gets to be sort of trial and error. As you can see where some of them are starting to connect up there towards the top. What I'm trying to do is, you see these little glowy bits here, right here, where there's a little bit of density. That's where I feel like things are sort of arcing or connecting together, like energy bits, and that's what I'm trying to recreate with this. So again, this is all very subjective to the resolution of the curve that you're using, how many particles are in the scene, and adjusting these settings here. So if I do like 0.1, you can see we're getting more of those sort of connections going on. And if I search more, I get more of that going on. Now, right now, this is very sort of like uniform and very linear and very sort of like Tron, you know, old science fiction movie kind of look. But let's just, for the sake of giggles here, let's just stay with this and get moving along here and see how we can improve this further. So we have our lines, but they're just straight lines. So we want to put some shape into them to make them more interesting. So there's really two things going on if we look closely here that we need to worry about. We have these uh, long vertical lines, right? And then we have these horizontal connecting lines, and they're all pretty straight. Um, and we want to create some noise in the shape. So probably what we can do if we look at this reference shot is take a two-stage approach and maybe create a noise that is sort of mildly affecting the shape of the vertical lines a little bit more softly, while we can use maybe a smaller noise, a higher frequency noise, I should say, to get all the really sort of detail, energy cross connecting bits, and also affecting the vertical lines a little bit too. So let's tackle that in a sort of a two-stage process, and let's drop down a noise. I think what it is every time I switch screens here, my tab goes away. So I apologize for that. All right, so let's do this again. We'll do attribute noise on the position. Whoa, that goes pretty crazy. We want to do zero centered and light touches. All right, so the amplitude is very low on that, and yeah, so we've got maybe something like this is maybe that's okay to start out with, and so we've got some sort of undulation in the lines themselves. But you know, it's a little rough, right? So all these, if I stop this here, we just sort of look at the points. Um, okay, so here's something about Houdini that's really cool that can help you. So you could see when we did the noise that it affected mostly the main vertical lines, but the connecting lines, there's not much it can do because these are just straight 2-point polygons, right? So a line is a 2-point polygon. You have 1 point here and 1 point there, and you don't have anything in between. So I know it's hard to see, but I'm pointing to this and going across here, and it's just one connecting line. So to make some interest in that, we need to divide this line up into smaller pieces, right, to make it more interesting to look at. We don't have that here, so how do we fix that? One thing that we could do is we can use a node called resample, which takes all of the incoming points and sort of like reinterprets what's going on by default in a sort of uniform way. So you can see right away, it might be hard for you to see on this, but it added a point in between these two lines where we had nothing before. So we can adjust our resolution using this length here, length attribute, to create more points in between, right? So maybe we want something like this, where we have maybe 5 or 6 points in between. And now when we go and look at a noise, we can, well, first of all, let's just take a look at this here and see if we can, well, yeah, let's do a noise. I'm thinking about a smooth. I'm thinking about smoothing out that shape even more, so it doesn't have that super linear feel. Okay, so the second noise I'm looking at here, I'm thinking of more of a smaller element size here. So I might go down to something like 0.5. You see how that immediately sort of created a little bit of undulation in these connecting lines here. And we can dial that to taste, of course. Now, yes, of course, it's affecting the the main lines as well, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But you can see kind of from afar already, even in this wireframe mode. Whoops, sorry. We're kind of getting something, at least from a shape language standpoint, that is resembling the kind of thing that we're looking at, right? You have these sort of vertical lines that are bunching up and creating these little hot spots, these little connecting spots. We're kind of achieving that. And with rendering, you can get away with quite a bit with, emission and glows and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, it's still a little jagged, so, let's take advantage of the resample of the extra points that we have here and try to smooth this out even more. And we can use our trusty smooth node again. Now, this is something that you'll have to dial into taste. Where you want to use it. Like you might want to use it before this smaller noise, depending on what your settings are for this first noise. Like how aggressive were you with that? Um, you know, if you were super jagged. In my case, I wasn't super aggressive, so we're not seeing a lot of that effect. But if I add it after my second noise, it should give us a little bit of, a more Bezier kind of feel. Like in here, you can see this shape here is not as rough as it was before, and from afar, it has a little bit of a smoother thing. And of course, like I said before, this really comes down to how you adjust your settings. And sometimes it doesn't always update until you rerun your simulation. All right, so we're getting something that's sort of like what we want. And again, like I said, you'll have to sort of mess around with the settings and decide what you like. Another thing that we could do to make this a little bit not maybe busier, but not cost so much to do. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is, you could go into the pop network and say, hey, give me more particles, like 500 particles, and go back up and rerun that. And depending on what your settings are, you can see things are slowing down a little bit, and it also changes, how your connected points is working and all that kind of stuff. One thing you can do to sort of save yourself the frustration of that kind of thing, if you're at a point where something kind of looks passable for what you're trying to accomplish, like let's just say for the sake of argument, this is getting there and we like this. What you can do is you can sort of make a duplicate of this by using a transform. What is going on with my spelling today? Oh, right there. Okay. And merge the result of the two. Right. So you have this one and this one together, but you take the copy and rotate it 180 degrees, or maybe something a little bit off, like 170. Whoops. And what you have is a duplicate that's offset, and you have essentially more detail or a higher density for almost free, without having to resimulate or recache anything. But it's giving us a much more denser sort of feel as to what we're looking for. And if we stop and take a quick look at what we're doing here, let me go ahead and merge in this just for preview's sake. Yeah, there it is. Let me find my land up here. It's hard to see. Sorry, guys. When we're recording on one screen, it's hard to get all the stuff very visible. Okay, there we go. That's what I tried to do. So if we're looking at this now, you can see we're getting the thing that we're looking for. And if I stop this like somewhere over here, where there's some connecting points and so forth and so forth, and then I bring in my reference shot and sort of take a look at it. Do I have I do. Let me take this off there. Okay. And you can see we have something that's that's in the ballpark of what we're trying to do. So you have bunches of areas that are collecting, and again, you'd have to go back and sort of adjust, your settings to sort of dial in the thing that you're going for. Like this little piece up here resembles kind of the thing we're seeing over here, and this kind of thing. Especially here, we're getting a little bit of these curves in there, and yeah. So at this point, I would call this a preview, and then I would begin to sort of look at my network and take little parts out that I wanna use. So like here, I might use another merge just to get the particle trail stuff on its own, and have this be my out energy trails, whatever you want to call them. And that should be just those. Yeah, it's just those. Okay. I know it's a little weird looking, but you'd have to adjust according to what you like. And there you go. And then our preview is here. And I think using those smooth nodes and the resample and all that kind of stuff, um, and I would say if I were to work on this a little further, I would probably be messing around with the connect adjacent pieces, the resample resolution, and the smooth to sort of dial in what my look would be here. So I might even go heavier handed with something like this, get more of a Bezier feel. I might even mess with the method a little bit to make it a little bit how it tags how it takes the information coming in to process the smoothing. See what different results I get. Until I get the look that I like, and go from there. But I won't waste your time with a lot of sort of nitpicking at parameters. But this does sort of get you in the ballpark, I think. And I hope that was helpful. It was about half an hour. I know it was a little long, but hey, we started from scratch on it and used a reference as inspiration, so it's not terrible. And like I said, there's going to be other ways to do this. I mean, we could have approached this with, a fluid sim. We, use a pyrosolver to, evact motion from, particles that are going up, or use that circle as a source. And I mean, we could have messed with a lot of different things, but they probably would have taken quite a lot more time and all of that to get in the ballpark or something. At least with this, we have something we can, you know, mock up pretty quick and play with and see where you can go from there. All right. Hope it's helpful. Thank you guys. Hope to see you soon.